In the last episode we leave La Gauche. So Ziggy is at the bow. He's watching out for crab pots. There's quite a few of them around here. We've got about 10 knots of wind. Our average speed is about 5.5 knots. We've got full sails up. We've got about 2 miles left to our destination, which is Sagres anchorage. We're gonna stay there for a couple of nights and then we're gonna head up the west coast of Portugal. We should have about a week of favourable winds, which are gonna push us up north. Can't complain. We wanted to test our dinghy and the outboard engine. And a couple of notes on the dinghy. Well, definitely not outboard compatible. As soon as you step out of the dinghy, the engine's weight will capsize it. So we don't want to flood the engine. We do try it here, but in the end we resort to oars and the power of the muscle to get to the shore. We go to explore the area a little, but this being the first time leaving Squalor unattended, we were super nervous and kept looking back from the cliff if she is okay. The wind was picking up a little, so we quickly headed back. The swell that came in overnight made the anchorage too uncomfortable to stay another night. So we left the hook and round the Cape of St. Vincent, where we find ourselves in fog. So this is the third time we are caught in fog. We are not far from the shore. There's plenty of pots here, and they appear literally about 20-30 meters away from us. Oh, there's one there. And you can't really see them at night, so very often we're literally inches away from one when we pass it. That's the only time when we see it. We saw one vessel ahead of us about 4 miles, so that was quite far. It was a sailing vessel. However, this is not the one. This is not on AIS, and obviously we don't have a transceiver, so we only receive AIS signal, but we don't actually transmit. Therefore other vessels cannot see us either. Wow, the visibility dropped even more, isn't it? We've got our foghorn, which we use. We stop at Cascais, a small picturesque town about 20 miles away from Lisbon. Expect everything to be a little bit more expensive here, including marina fees, but it's definitely worth a visit. About half an hour by train and we are in Lisbon. Apart from the quaint yellow trams that take you through the narrow streets of Lisbon, one thing that stood out was the number of graffiti around the city. Everything is absolutely covered. We walked around the city until we could no longer feel our feet, So that evening we relaxed on deck discussing the next leg of our journey up north. The plan is simple. We set course for Porto de Leixões. We drop anchor and get some rest. We then continue for another 160 nautical miles to make a short stop in a small fishing village, Camarinas, in Spain. Before we know it, we are slipping lines and rounding the coast of Spain and heading east. Cruising for a couple of days at a time brings a certain sense of serenity. Everything slows down, and life boils down to very simple things. When on watch, one is helming and listening to audiobooks. When off watch, we are dozing off or balancing down below when making countless teas and coffees or cooking.
Just going to cook something now.
We're waiting for wind. When wind comes, we're trimming sails. Sometimes we change direction, we fish, and sometimes we have to Google what we caught. Other times, our catch is wreaking havoc on board.
No się klei do tego wiadra, patrz. Wiadro trzyma.
To keep busy, we take bearings and plot our position on the chart. We watch the sunsets and get very excited when we experience something for the first time. Like that time Ziggy spotted a whale. And we were so excited when he surfaced right next to Squallow. I know he wasn't big, but he really was quite something. I think he's gone. On the other hand, there are times when life can be the opposite of simple. It can be quite hectic, actually. And this is usually when things go wrong.
It's 8 o'clock in the morning. We are in front of Santander doing our change of shift. Around 1 o'clock in the morning, our steering system failed and we struggled for a while. I tried to sort it out. I realized something wrong is inside our pedestal. So wheel was turning all 360 and I decided to use a emergency steering, and that's what I'm doing for the last 7 hours right now. It is difficult, it is painful, and I feel really tired, but we're almost there. We did 30 few miles on it. We had a lot of rain, sometimes heavy rain. The sea state was quite rough. It was a long night for both of us. Nat was feeling sick for most of the time, and the plan is to find a shelter anchorage and just drop the hook, then check what is going on with our steering system. Hopefully it's a minor thing. Soon we will have a bit of rest.
Our initial assumption was that something snapped within the pedestal itself. It turned out it was one of the bolts connecting U-joints on the mechanical steering below our bunk in the aft cabin. Luckily we had a variety of spare rods and bolts that Ziggy used and had to modify to fit the steering system, and it fixed the problem.
Lovely weather.
I can tell we are getting closer to England. From the moment we left Santander, it seemed that the sunny days were over.
On the coast of France.
I missed your rotor. Today we are expecting winds of over 40 knots. Therefore we found shelter in Brest, in Marina de Château. We arrived here at 2 o'clock in the morning. It looked like all the spots were actually taken, so we stopped at the fuel pontoon just like another yacht. Just going to the office to sort out the paperwork. Because when we came in, the whole visitors pontoon, which is quite long, is packed. It's understandable that everyone's looking for shelter during this weather. It's a massive marina. The marina authorities advised everyone to stay put. as only a couple of hours later we experienced very strong wind within the marina itself. By the following day, the weather system has already passed.
Station. This is Guernsey Coast Guard, Guernsey Coast Guard, Guernsey Coast Guard.
Guess where we are?
10.
So we are just north of Alderney, almost halfway across the channel, heading towards Weymouth. You probably can't see it, but we've got quite a few vessels. There's one there, one there, one there, and about 7 or 8 more behind them. They're pretty close to one another, so it's quite difficult to dodge them, but we are doing our best. Once we pass that, it should be easy. So obviously it's not a good idea to try and outrun those vessels. They go at high speeds compared to us. We've seen one going at 20 knots. It's quite a lot of them, and none of them is gonna give way to you. Late afternoon next day we were entering River Crouch on the east coast of England. So once we reach the marina, this is actually it. This is it. Squalor will be ashore for quite some time, so this is our last sail. And of course the wind had to knock the camera over on our last docking. So I guess we can say it's the end of the video, and we will see you next time.